16th July 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our daily press review on CAM1 Radio. Of course, the frequency is 99.5 FM, and this is the People's Radio. We are going to immediately start this session with a Limbe-based newspaper, which is none other but the Dawn paper, which is out on the stands as we speak. As FACO SDO orders daytime ban on heavy-duty trucks. You can read this story today on the Dawn paper, which is out on the stands as we speak. As Vyang Mekala, who is the FACO Senior Divisional Officer, wants to make Limbe a safer place for its inhabitants and residents. Also on the Dawn paper, the Kumba host to host orphan friend versus non-orphan friends football match, which is another must-read story for fanatics of football. A devastating fire leaves family homeless in Bukwango in the Mboya, that's in the southwest region. You can read the story too on the Dawn paper. Also in Kupemaninguba division of the Restive Southwest region, electrification project brings joy to 5 villages. You can read the story today on page 3 of the Dawn paper. In Kumba still, Mulango Street residents clean their street on page 5. You can read this story today on the Dawn paper. Then the Dawn paper also has a health tip for us today on page 8 of its paper, which has to do with liver detoxification with African foods. You can read this story today on the Dawn paper, which is out as we speak. The Guardian Post is also out today, and the Guardian Post has a lot of interesting stories on its paper today. As a mines ministry clarifies, the Australian firm has no mineral exploration license in Cameroon. Insists the firm Peak Minerals has no license to explore minerals in Cameroon and has never even applied for one. You can read this story today on page 3 of the Guardian Post. The Guardian Post also talks something completely different and talks about Chantal Andeli appointed ANO Interim Director General Manager or Director General of ANO Corporation. The board of directors of the Standards and Quality Agency, known by its French acronym ANO, has appointed Chantal Andeli Ndongo as the Interim Director General of the public institution. Members of the board unanimously chose her to continue piloting affairs of ANO in replacement of Charles Butu Angon, who died on June 29, 2024, while serving as Director General of ANO Corporation. You can read the story today on the Guardian Post, more specifically on page 2 of the paper. Also, Cameroon ranked third country with the highest cost of living in Africa, as global data research platforms Numbeo has released its midway report for 2024. The report reveals that Cameroon is the country in Africa with the highest cost of living. The statistics released recently indicate that as global disruptions continue to sponsor the cost of living crisis, the overall Cameroon is the country where citizens have been hit the highest in Africa. According to the institution globally, Cameroon is the 73rd highest hit country and first in Africa with the cost of living index of 37.3%. Detailing other areas that affect the quality of the lives of citizens, Numbeo reports an increase in cost of rent, eating in restaurants, reduction in purchasing power of citizens, and a spike in grocery prices in Cameroon. Minister Kecha Kutes launches tourney to promote social cohesion and patriotism. Also unveils scheme to train and empower 1,000 youths in day division in the west region of the country. You can read all of these stories today on the Guardian Post paper, which is out today as we speak. The Voice is also out today and says government complacent in Glencore corruption scandal as Akere Muna laments. Barrister Akere Muna, the former president of the Cameroon Bar Association and Pan-African Lawyers, has described the lack of sincerity by the Cameroonian government in investigating the Glencore corruption scandal. You can read the story today on page 3 of the paper. And corruption scandal as an unfortunate scandal hanging on the country's image, and anti-corruption activists lamented on the situation of the corruption investigation at a press breakfast in Yaoundé on July 11, 2024. You can read this story today on page 3 of the Voice paper. Transforming lives through sustainable agriculture. The story of Northwest Cooperative Association is also highlighted on the Voice paper on the page 6 as a bilingualism commission loads Limbe Port Authority use of official languages. A special report on the Togo Fashion Festival in Daily Voice Tuesday, 16 July is also highlighted on its paper. The Post is out today. Minat is destabilizing opposition parties for the benefit of CPDM as Tomaino Damjoya voices out her opinion on the situation. You can read this story today on page 4 of the Post paper. Cameroon is in chaos and badly needs change. SDF Chairman Honorable Osi Joshua Nabangi talks about this in detail. You can read this story today on the page 9 of the Post paper. Meantime, Northwest Mini Party delegate says bribe giving contractors will continue to face draconian measures. On page 2, you can read this story today on the Post paper. WFP's call for expression of interest, deadline extension. Our mission and vision is to transform Wum into a city, as Mayor Digambong Mvo said on page 11. Maso empowers Cameroonians as thousands win big in a Tombola draw. Page 3 or page 8 is where you can read this story today on the Post paper. Daily Voice is also out today. Daily Voice says, a Togo Fashion Festival set to dazzle Bamenda. A fashionable story which could be read today on Daily Voice. You can read the story today. Also, an interview was granted to Vumosi Ngwe Fonta, who is none other but a talented designer from the Northwest region, which is also a headline story today on the Daily Voice. Also, Mula and the Wandong lamentations over the unending plague of corruption and impunity in Cameroon is also another story which could be read today on the Daily Voice paper. The French papers are also out today, and we have a grand tradition here at CAM1 radio and the television that we always translate these papers for the English-speaking community in the Southwest and Northwest region at large, and the entire English-speaking community in the world. Le Drapeau is out today. Headlines with Cameroon's embassy in France, who's communicated that that according to ordinance number 2024/001 of June 20, 2024, the embassy will increase tariffs on its consular services. You can read it on page 4 of your Drapeau. Le Preuve is out as well. Talks about Senator Kunche's humanitarian actions in boosting over 200 jobs for youth in the Konki division. Also, the paper says with the return of Panther Dinde in the Division 1 elite, Celestin Kecha Kutes calls for the mobilization of all supporters of Panther Dinde. You can read the story today on the Proof newspaper, which is out on the stands as we speak. A Telegram is also out today. Focuses on the presidential election 2025 as Celestin Kecha Kutes, the Minister of Housing and Urban Development, is fully engaged in the electoral process in the Day Division in the West region of the country. You can read the story today on page 3 of Telegram. Also, the paper talks of the 4th edition launch at Kolesan in regards to the Sumbon Angola Pierre Championship. You can read the story today on page 6 and 7 respectively of Telegram paper. Echo du Parlement is also out. We echoes all the decisions taken by the Speaker of the House of Assembly during the June 2024 session, as Right Honorable Kabaye Yege Jibril chaired the ordinary session for 30 days. You can read the story today on page 2 of Echo du Parlement. We also have a Quotidien Réalité, which is out on the stands as we speak. The paper focuses on the fight against poverty in the Konki division, as Senator Albert Concho supports more than 200 youths. Also, the paper recapitulates the events of the 13th of July at the Palais Polyvalent des Sports, where people thanked Reverend Pastor Emmanuel Noel Bisaye, the president of the Repanov Finance Company and the promoter of a Natural Mutual Assistance and Solidarity Fund, who gave out prizes to the winners of the Mutualist Initiative. Quotidien Reality reports that the event had dignitaries present at the event, such as the Secretary General to the Governor of the Central Region. Le Point is out as well today, focuses on a cold war between the General Manager of Public Markets Agency and his Director of Finance. According to Le Point, both personalities are in disaccord over certain issues at the company. You can read this story today on page 11 of Le Point. Also, the page 3 of the paper, Le Point talks of Air France Aviation Company, which is condemned for its poor services in Cameroon, from defective equipment and poor customer relationship satisfaction, which are highlighted and reported by Le Point paper, which is out as we speak. Le Jour is out today, or Le Soir rather, is out today. Focuses on the nomination of the interim director general of the company known as Lanor, which happens to be the agency in charge of standards and quality in Cameroon. Madame Chantal Andeli becomes its interim director general, as reported by Le Soir. African Info is also out today. Reports on Cleopas Medulu Mengolo, who works at the presidency of the Republic and who acclaims President Paul Biya for his nomination for a strategic position at the presidency. He says youths like himself um, needs to massively vote, go out and vote for the 2025 election, which is upcoming, and all of them should vote President Paul Biya. According to African Info, President Paul Biya still has a vision for youths in this part of the country and in the country at large. Horizon Paper is out today. Reports that le Salon de l'Action Gouvernementale, in its acronym SAGO, will be taking place on the 20th to the 27th of July 2024 at the Palais des Sports in Yaoundé, Cameroon. The amelioration of governance and living conditions of citizens is top of the agenda. Mutation is also out as well. According to Mutation, Cameroon becomes one of the most expensive countries to live in Africa due to high cost of living. This was disclosed by the World Periodic Statistical Classification Numbeo. According to Mutation, this is an alert to the World Bank Organization. Media Action is out as well. It says the Senator Françoise Puine transforms the life of 150 women in cassava production. Also, the paper focuses on the senior divisional officer, Lanui Harry Ngani, who passed on a message of peace and unity to the people of Kunki division as he was on tour in that part of the country. My hospital is out today, focused on the persistence towards attaining excellence at the district hospital in Banjok in the central region of the country. Despite difficulties and the challenges, Dr. Owana Jules Gisler, the director of a district hospital in Banjok, surmounts the challenges as reported by My Hospital newspaper. You can read this story today on page 6 and 7 of the paper, respectively. Also, the regional hospital in Gaundere is reported to have acquired new health equipment in the fight against gynecological cancer. Page 3 of My Hospital is where you can read this paper. Eco Sante is out today. Reports today that international organizations have applauded Cameroon's initiative and innovative approach and its effectiveness in the fight against the COVID during the African Cup of Nations in 2021. You can read all of these stories today on Eco Sante. Also, at the University of Yaoundé 1, Professor Ngo Epuzo Meka Esther Juliette has been installed in her functions, as reported by Eco Sante. Suppress is out today. It says it's a new era for Zwimanto following the promotion of Panther Yunde to Division 1 elite football. Page 2 and 5 to 5 is where you can read this story today on Suppress. Also, at Arno, Madame Chantal Andeline Nomondongo becomes interim director general. Page 7 of Suppress has in-depth stories about this particular issue. Informating is out to the talk development on energy as Cameroon and Israel are examining possibilities to revamp electricity and water sectors in the country. As the Minister of Water and Energy, Gaston Elunu Esumba, received Anor Kelma from Israel yesterday, 15th July 2024, to brainstorm on potential possibilities to revamp the electricity and water sectors in the country. L'Info Show is also out as well, focuses on education and says Gabon has signed a convention between UNESCO and the University of Political Sciences and Management in Libreville. You can read this story today on page 2 of L'Info Show. Cameroon Tribune is also out as well, focuses on national security and reports that the fight against drug trafficking is of utmost importance to the government because these drug traffickers are ganging up with mafia connections, destabilizing national security. Also, the paper focuses on the Paris Olympic Games and says the flag bearers of Cameroon are already in Paris. for the global competition, which begins on July 26, 2024. Though the number of athletes are reduced compared to the last editions, hopes of medals harvest, however, remains alive. You can read these stories today on page 28 to 30 of Cameroon Tribune. Emergence is out and reports this morning that the World Bank have sounded the alarm on extreme poverty in Cameroon, as 25% of Cameroonians might be really in a precarious situation and position by 2026 as a result of poverty. L'Économie Quotidien is out with the focuses on the transformation of public capital in Cameroon and the revamping of prioritized sectors such as the National Investment Corporation. You can read the story today on page 5 of L'Économie Quotidien paper, which is out as we speak. Also on page 3 of L'Économie Quotidien, the governor of the Bank of Central African States, Yvon Sanabangi, says he wants to create a productive environment at BEAC against all odds. Third Promise is out today, reports that Kobac has halted SEDEC's activities in regards to the transfer of unclaimed assets until clarifications are being made. It should be noted that Kobac is the Central African Banking Commission, while SEDEC is the Cameroon's Deposit and Consignment Fund. You can read all of these stories today on page 3 of Third Promise. Prospective Nouvelle is out, also highlights the Kobac SEDEC affair and headlines with the caption Money Which Divides. Page 3 is where you can read this story today on a Prospective Nouvelle. Also, Chantal Andele is profiled on the paper as the new commander at ANOR, which is the agency in charge of quality and standards in the Cameroon. Weekend 4 is out, focuses on the Australian company known as Peak Minerals. According to Weekend 4, no research permit was given to the Australian company to operate in the country. You can read the story today on page 9 of the paper. La Météo is out and also shares the same story as Weekend 4. But this time, headlines with the Minister of Mines and Technological Development, Professor Fukalistus Gentry, who also affirms that no exploitation permit was given to Peak Minerals in Cameroon. You can read this story today on page 2 to 3 of La Météo. Repair is out, is still on the same heated story of illegal exploitation by the Australian company Peak Minerals, who is currently in Cameroon trying to exploit gold, uranium, rutile and zircon, amongst other minerals. Also on page 4 of the Repair, the introduction of commercialized electric cars might be on the verge of becoming a reality in Cameroon in the nearest future. You can read these stories today on Repair. Le Jour is out as well. Headlines with the Peak Minerals affair, as the Minister of Mines and Technological Development voices out his discontentment with this illegal activity. Le Messager is out as well today. Headlines with the caption Manhunt at the National Social Insurance Fund, following the mission orders and the records of Minister Mba Acharo's Fomundam, who aims to track down the Director General of the National Social Insurance Fund, Mekulo Ombondo. On page 2 of Le Messager, the College of Notables at the Royal Village of Boneleka in Akwa in the littoral region are against the interference of the senior divisional officer in their chieftaincy affairs. You can read all of these stories today on Le Messager. Le Popoli paper is also out today. The comic paper is out today and draws a picture of Mekulu Vondo strangled by one of the security details of President Paul Biya while he watches from the comfort of his car. An image which depicts the headline of the Popoli this morning, which goes thus: the strange lynching of the Director General of the National Social Insurance Fund, in its acronym CNPS. It is with Popoli paper that we end this edition today of the press review on the CAM1 radio. Of course, the frequency is 99.5 FM. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the People's Radio. For presentation, I was a Charles Savannah. See you tomorrow, same time, same place on this network.